Lesson 138. Heaven is the decision I must make. In this world, heaven is a choice, because here we believe there are alternatives to choose between. We think that all things have an opposite, and what we want, we choose. If heaven exists, there must be hell as well. For contradiction is the way we make what we perceive, and what we think is real. Creation knows no opposite. But here is opposition part of being real. It is this strange perception of the truth that makes the choice of heaven seem to be the same as the relinquishment of hell. It is not really thus. Yet what is true in God's creation cannot enter here until it is reflected in some form the world can understand. Truth cannot come where it could only be perceived with fear. For this would be the error. Truth can be brought to illusions. Opposition makes the truth unwelcome, and it cannot come. Choice is the obvious escape from what appears as opposites. Decision lets one of conflicting goals become the aim of effort and expenditure of time. Without decision, time is but a waste and effort dissipated. It is spent for nothing in return, and time goes by without results. There is no sense of gain, for nothing is accomplished, nothing learned. You need to be reminded that you think 1,000 choices are confronting you when there is really only one to make. And even this but seems to be a choice. Do not confuse yourself with all the doubts that myriad decisions would induce. You make but one. And when that one is made, you will perceive it was no choice at all. For truth is true, and nothing else is true. There is no opposite to choose instead. There is no contradiction to the truth. Choosing depends on learning. And the truth cannot be learned, but only recognized. In recognition, its acceptance lies, and as it is accepted, it is known. But knowledge is beyond the goals we seek to teach within the framework of this course. Ours are teaching goals to be attained through learning how to reach them, what they are, and what they offer you. Decisions are the outcome of your learning, for they rest on what you have accepted as the truth of what you are and what your needs must be. In this insanely complicated world, heaven appears to take the form of choice, rather than merely being what it is. Of all the choices you have tried to make, this is the simplest, most definitive and prototype of all the rest, the one which settles all decisions. If you could decide the rest, this one remains unsolved. But when you solve this one, the others are resolved with it, for all decisions but conceal this one by taking different forms. Here is the final and the only choice in which is truth accepted or denied. So we begin today considering the choice that time was made to help us make. Such is its holy purpose, now transformed from the intent you gave it. That it be a means for demonstrating hell is real, hope changes to despair, and life itself must in the end be overcome by death. In death alone are opposites resolved, for ending opposition is to die. And thus salvation must be seen as death, for life is seen as conflict. To resolve the conflict is to end your life as well. These mad beliefs can gain unconscious hold of great intensity and grip the mind with terror and anxiety so strong that it will not relinquish its ideas about its own protection. It must be saved from salvation, threatened to be safe and magically armored against truth. And these decisions are made unaware to keep them safely undisturbed, apart from question and from reason and from doubt. Heaven is chosen consciously. The choice cannot be made until alternatives are accurately seen and understood. All that is veiled in shadows must be raised to understanding, to be judged again, this time with heaven's help. And all mistakes in judgment that the mind had made before are open to correction, as the truth dismisses them as causeless. Now are they without effects, They cannot be concealed, because their nothingness is recognized. The conscious choice of heaven is as sure as is the ending of the fear of hell, when it is raised from its protective shield of unawareness and is brought to light. Who can decide between the clearly seen and the unrecognized? Yet who can fail to make a choice between alternatives when only one is seen as valuable, the other as a wholly worthless thing, a but imagined source of guilt and pain? Who hesitates to make a choice like this? And shall we hesitate to choose today? We make the choice for heaven as we wake and spend 5 minutes making sure that we have made the one decision that is sane. We recognize we make a conscious choice between what has existence and what has nothing but an appearance of the truth. Its pseudo-being, brought to what is real, is flimsy and transparent in the light. It holds no terror now, for what was made enormous, vengeful, pitiless with hate, demands obscurity for fear to be invested there. Now it is recognized as but a foolish, trivial mistake. Before we close our eyes in sleep tonight, we reaffirm the choice that we have made each hour in between. And now we give the last 5 minutes of our waking day to the decision with which we awoke. As every hour passed, we have declared our choice again, in a brief, quiet time devoted to maintaining sanity. And finally, we close the day with this, acknowledging we chose but what we want. Heaven is the decision I must make. I make it now and will not change my mind, because it is the only thing I want. In this world, heaven is a choice way. It is not a place we are sent. It is not a prize for the holy or the harmed. It is a present decision, and I must be the one to make it. Because here, in this world, we believe there are alternatives. We think we are choosing between something and something else. We call that freedom. But what are these things we believe we must choose between? Love or hate? Safety or danger? Abundance or lack? God or the world? Peace or punishment? We think all things have an opposite, and so we live in fear of picking the wrong one. We think even heaven has an opposite. If heaven exists, we presume there must be a hell as well. We imagine a universe split in two, and then we try to live somewhere in the middle. But contradiction is not truth. Contradiction is how perception was made. Opposites are the ego's invention. They are not real, but we have made them real in our minds. We believe what we perceive, and then we suffer by what we believe. We made the contradiction, and then we called it creation. Heaven cannot be found in that confusion. It can only be chosen by leaving the lie behind. Heaven is not found. It is remembered, and the memory begins with one decision. I must decide for heaven. Creation knows no opposite. How could love have an opposite when love is all there is? Love does not share space. It is the whole pie. There is nothing outside it to compete. But here, in this world, opposition is part of what we call real. Here, reality is divided. There must be a me over here and a you over there. There must be this chair, this table, this television, this body, all split apart and fighting for space. Separation is the law of the land. This is a strange perception of the truth. Strange, because it is unfamiliar to what is real. Strange, because truth does not recognize division. Strange, because what is whole cannot comprehend halves. This strange perception makes it seem like choosing heaven is the same as giving up something else, like giving up hell. It makes it feel like I'm losing something when I say yes to truth. But it is not really thus. Heaven is not gained by sacrifice. Nothing true is ever lost. Yet truth cannot enter here. Not until it is reflected in some form the world can understand. Truth must be translated, not compromised. It must wear a symbol the fearful mind won't reject, because truth cannot come where it would only be met with fear. To bring truth into illusion, as if illusion could hold it, would make truth just another form. It would make light just another shadow. Truth is not welcome where contradiction is worshipped. Opposition makes truth unwelcome. And where it is not welcome, it cannot come. If I resist truth in my thoughts, in my actions, in my arguments, then I am the one keeping it from entering. The truth does not fight. It only enters by invitation, and only where no opposition remains. Choice is the obvious escape from what appears as opposites, but not obvious like a flashing sign. Obvious like a ladder in a maze that's always been there, just not believed. Imagine walking through a maze of mirrors. Each turn shows you two paths, left or right, forward or back. You get tired of choosing, tired of bumping into walls. You start to think the maze is life itself. But then, you look up, and you see a ladder. Not another hallway, not another path, a ladder. The choice isn't between left and right anymore. It's up or stay. That's what this means. Choice is the obvious escape from what appears as opposites. It's the only way out because the opposites are fake. Left and right go nowhere when the whole structure is the illusion. Decision is the moment I stop choosing between mirrored walls and start climbing toward the sky. Decision gives direction. It focuses energy on something real. Without it, time just spins, like pacing in a circle, arguing about which wall looks nicer. Effort is wasted. Time is burned, with no light. Nothing is gained. Nothing is learned. But the moment I choose the ladder, time begins to serve me. It becomes a vehicle, not a prison. I stop wandering. I begin to rise. Not because I fixed the maze, but because I stopped pretending the maze was real. I stopped choosing shadows and chose the light. You need to be reminded of this, because you still believe that 1,000 choices are confronting you. But there is only one. The maze is loud. Every hallway screams, "Pick me!" One door offers money, another offers love, another offers revenge, another says peace. But they all lead back to the same place, the same confusion, the same loop, the same lost feeling dressed up in new clothes. Do not confuse yourself with all the doubts that the myriad decisions would induce. All that noise is just distraction. All those paths are just mirrors. You make but one choice. Do I stay in the maze, or do I climb the ladder? And once that one is made, you'll realize it was never really a choice at all. Because the maze was never real. How can there be a way out? When there was never anything to be in, how can there be a choice? When only truth exists, and truth is true, and nothing else is true. The ladder doesn't change. It doesn't cater to identity. It doesn't dress itself in robes or robes of ego's choosing. It isn't Republican or Democrat. It isn't gendered or exclusive. It isn't holy for some and hidden from others. It just is. There are no other ladders. There is no opposite to what is. No contradiction. No alternative that's real. There is only the climb and the willingness to rise. Choosing depends on learning. But the truth cannot be learned, only recognized. Because learning implies distance. It implies the truth is somewhere out there, outside of me, waiting to be reached. But truth is not a door at the edge of the maze. It is the silence beneath every hallway. It is the sky above the ceiling I forgot was never real. The truth cannot be gained because it was never lost. It cannot be acquired because it was never absent. The ladder doesn't appear when I solve the maze. It appears when I stop trying to. And that's why truth is only recognized. Like realizing it's raining outside, and all your anger was about wishing it wasn't. You don't need to fix the rain. You just need to accept it. And suddenly, it's not a problem. In that moment, you recognize what is, not because you learned it, but because you stopped resisting it. In recognition, acceptance lies. And in acceptance, knowledge dawns. But knowledge is beyond the goals of this course. Not because it's withheld, but because it can't be taught. It shines only when all teaching has been let go. What this course teaches is the preparation, the clearing of the fog, the undoing of the maze, the stepping onto the ladder. And every true teaching goal has three things: what it is, how to reach it, and what it offers. So what is this goal? To remember who you are. How do you reach it? By choosing again, by seeing the ladder, by climbing without delay. And what does it offer? Peace, certainty, and the end of time. Decisions are the outcome of your learning. Every choice you make reflects what you believe about yourself. If you believe you are trapped, you will choose within the maze. If you believe you are free, you will climb. What you decide rests on what you have accepted as true about you. And if you still believe you are the character in the maze, you'll keep wandering. But if you remember, you are not the runner, you are the sky, then your choice becomes clear, and the ladder becomes home. In this insanely complicated world, where every hallway branches into 10 more, where the walls whisper 1,000 false urgencies, heaven appears to take the form of a choice, not because heaven changed, but because confusion demands disguise. The ladder was always there, but now, in the madness of mirrors, it looks like just another option. It doesn't scream like the others, it doesn't flash, it doesn't promise riches, revenge, or romance. It just waits. Of all the choices you've tried to make in this maze, this is the simplest, the most definitive. The prototype of every false decision you've ever made. This is the route. The one choice that once made makes all other choices obsolete. Because if you could decide the rest, but not this one, you decided nothing. You just rearranged shadows. But if you choose this one, if you climb the ladder, the whole maze dissolves behind you. All the other questions answered. All the forks in the road healed. Because all those decisions were just costumes, each one secretly hiding the same question. Do you want to stay in the dream or wake up? Here is the final and only choice. Truth does not ask for 10 options. It waits on one answer, accepted or denied. Like an invitation in your hand, not to a party, but to yourself. And you can pretend to misplace it, or you can finally say yes. That is the only real decision. All others were just delay. And the ladder? Still right where you left it. So we begin today by considering the choice that time was made to help us make. Time, that great spinning wheel you thought was chasing you, was really just circling one question. Do you want the maze, or do you want the ladder? That is time's holy purpose. Not to aid you, not to punish you, not to measure failure or success, but to lead you to the edge of the illusion and ask you again, with love, are you ready to leave? Time was made by the ego to keep you looping, to prove that hell is real. Look at your calendar full of heartbreak, your deadlines, your missed chances, your funeral programs. That was the ego's use of time. To turn pain into evidence, to say, look, this world is undeniable. Look at all this suffering. Surely this must be life. Hope rises, but only as bait. A new job, a new love, a new promise, a new strategy for escaping the walls. But it fades, because every new hallway still belongs to the maze. Hope turns to despair, not because you are cursed, but because you are choosing delay. And the ego tells you the only real escape is death. If life is conflict, the ego whispers, then peace must be found in the end, and the end must be death. And so salvation is rebranded as leaving the world, but not through awakening, through collapse. And you buy it, because the maze gets heavy, and the ladder seems too quiet to trust. But that was never the purpose of time. Time was not made to lead you to death. It was made to bring you to decision. And when that decision is made, time no longer has a job, because the ladder leads you out of it. These mad beliefs, the ones that built the maze, can gain unconscious hold of great intensity. What mad beliefs? The belief that pain is real, that death is the end, that love will betray you, that God cannot be trusted, that the ladder leads nowhere. And these are not quiet thoughts. They grip the mind, not lightly, not casually, but with the clenched fist of terror. Terror. That bone-deep dread, that tightness in the chest, that unspoken panic that says, if I let go, I'll lose everything. Anxiety becomes the bodyguard of the illusion. The mind shakes, but still refuses to surrender, because to let go of the maze feels like death. To climb the ladder feels like danger. And so the mind must be saved from salvation. It must be threatened to feel safer. It must be told, don't trust that quiet. Don't trust that love. Stay inside the maze. It's all you've ever known. This is what it means to be magically armored against the truth. A fortress of fear, built to keep out the light. And the craziest part? These decisions are made unaware. The mind chooses its prison in secret, so it can keep its fear undisturbed. Undisturbed by questions. Undisturbed by reason. Undisturbed by even a single crack of doubt. Because if doubt ever entered, the spell might break. The ladder might be seen, and the whole illusion would start to tremble. But the ego says, don't look up, don't ask questions, don't pause, don't wonder. Because the moment you pause, the grip loosens. And that is the beginning of your freedom. Heaven is chosen consciously. This is not an accident, not a default setting, not a backup plan. It is a decision made with full awareness, a surrender that comes after every alternative has been tried and found lacking. The choice cannot be made until the alternatives are seen clearly for what they are. That's why the ladder wasn't forced on you. Because if you think the maze might still hold something, you won't climb. You'll say, maybe one more turn, maybe one more hallway, maybe this next room will be different. And so, nothing is denied you. God says, go ahead. Look under every stone. Just don't forget where the ladder is. All that is veiled in shadows must be raised to understanding. Every old fear, every regret, every shameful memory, not to be relived, but to be re-seen, judged again, this time with heaven's help. The first time you judged it, you were scared. You thought the monster under the bed was real. But now, with the ladder in sight, you can crouch down and see for yourself. There's nothing there. All mistakes in judgment the mind has made before are now open to correction. All the things you called sin, all the choices you thought ruined everything, all the guilt you swore would never lift, now seen for what they were, causeless. They had no source, they came from nowhere, and so they have no effects. The storm never touched the ocean, the dream never altered the sleeper. If the world is without cause, it cannot create pain, it cannot make damage. It cannot conceal truth, because now its nothingness is recognized, not with fear, but with clarity. The maze never held you. You held it. And now you can let go, because the ladder has always been there, and it's not asking for belief, just the first step. The conscious choice of heaven is as sure as the ending of fear of hell. You can't fear both, you can't serve both, you can't value both. But first, hell has to be raised from its protective shield of unawareness. What does that mean? It means you've been calling it real life. The suffering, the drama, the grind, the struggle you normalized. That's the shield, unawareness, the belief that this is just how it is. But once it's raised to the light, once you call the maze what it really is, you can finally choose. You can finally see the ladder next to the trapdoor. You decide between what is clearly seen and what was never really recognized. And let's be honest, who fails to make a choice when one thing is finally seen as valuable and the other as wholly worthless, mate? Which one is valuable? The ladder, the peace, the stillness that asks for nothing and gives everything. Which one is worthless? The maze, the endless reruns of guilt and pain. Because that's all it was, an imagined source of guilt and pain. A haunted house you built yourself, then forgot you were pretending. And now the lights are on. The monsters are plywood. The soundtrack is looping. Who hesitates to leave a horror movie once they realize it's just a screen? Who, holding gold and gravel, struggles to choose? And so, shall we hesitate to choose today? Shall we keep circling the same dark hallway, knowing the way out is lit and waiting? No, mighty companion. Today, we climb. We make the choice for heaven as we wake. We don't wait for it. We don't hope it comes later. We choose it now. And we spend 5 minutes making sure we made the only decision that is sane. Because every other choice was madness. Only one choice leads out. Only one choice ends delay. Only one choice remembers peace. This is a conscious decision. No one forced it. No storm pushed it. No guilt demanded it. This is your yes to love. A yes to innocence. A yes to compassion, a yes to the truth that was always waiting. We recognize we are choosing between what exists and what only appears to exist, what has substance and what is shadow. And here's where the ego gets exposed, the pseudo-being, not the true self, but the copy, the actor, the puppet, the being that was never real, only dressed in form, only imagined as a body, only surviving through fear. The world and the body and the identity stitched to them are pseudo, false, pretended, projected. But when the pseudo-being is brought into the light, it's flimsy, transparent. You hold it up and the truth shines straight through. No more terror, no more monster under the bed. What was made enormous, all that guilt, all that shame, all that hate, was just smoke on a mirror. It was made vengeful, pitiless, and cruel. But it was never real. And here's the trick. That false self demanded obscurity. It had to stay hidden. Because fear needs darkness to survive. It says, don't look too closely. Don't shine the light. Don't ask if this pain is justified. Because the moment you bring it to light, you see it never had a grip. Just a whisper, just a costume. And now you stand at the base of the ladder again. No monsters chasing you, no illusions weighing you down. And the climb has never been more clear. Before we close our eyes and sleep tonight, we affirm the choice we made, each hour in between, maze or ladder. That was always the question. Every conversation, every scroll, every complaint, every silence. Maze or ladder. We give the last 5 minutes of our waking day to the same decision we made when we opened our eyes. Heaven is the decision I must make. Not tomorrow. Not when I get it together. Now. And so, as each hour passed, we paused. Just for a moment. Just long enough to ask, am I still in the maze? Or am I facing the ladder? And each pause was a mercy. A moment of sanity. A breath of willingness. Not to escape the maze in a sprint, but to remember that the ladder never left. We're not climbing to earn heaven. We're climbing to remember we never left it. And now, we close the day with this. We acknowledge that we chose what we want. No longer pretending we're victims of circumstance. No longer blaming the builders of the maze. No longer accusing God. We chose, and we choose again now. Heaven is the decision I must make. I make it now. And I will not change my mind, because this is the only thing I want. Even if I'm still in the maze, I'm walking toward the ladder. Even if the shadows dance and call me by name, I won't turn back. Even if temptation says, "Hey, we're your cousins, come vibe with us," I'll smile and wave, and keep walking. Because the ladder doesn't need drama, or proof, or sacrifice. It just needs the yes. And tonight, I give it. That's the climb, mighty companions. 12 rungs up. One decision made, and no turning back.